Good morning and welcome everybody. You are watching The Local Show on Aspen 82. My pleasure this morning to be joined by John Oates. As Tom was just saying, one of our favorite Aspen locals. That's right. John, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Mayor Torre. I take so much joy in calling you Mayor Torre. That's so awesome.
Well, I appreciate that, especially seeing how I actually used to work for you.
I get so much pleasure out of telling people that you are our sound man, man. We toured together. We traveled all over, had a blast. And now look at you, man. You've risen to the ranks of the top of the political ladder.
Thanks, John. And look at you. You're not doing so bad yourself.
Oh, man, we're hanging in there.
Welcome back to Aspen. You've got a show coming up December 29th, 7:30 p.m. at the Wheeler Opera House. Playing with Guthrie Trapp.
Yes.
Amazing musician. And the show is called Stories Behind the Songs.
Yeah, it is. We're just going to, it's as basic as it gets. 2 acoustic guitars, I sing, we tell stories. He and I have been playing together for about 15 years, and we wanted to break it down to the most organic, basic thing we could do. And it's a lot of fun. It's freewheeling. We don't know where it goes, and we just have fun with it.
Well, before we talk a little bit more about that,
Sure.
I want to talk a little bit about Aspen. You are a longtime local. You live in Woody Creek.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about your love affair with Aspen, why you've been here for so many years.
Well, it started a long time ago. It actually started when I was in college in Philadelphia. There was a little 3x5 card on the Student Union bulletin board. It said, ski trip to Aspen, airfare and hotel, $125. And it was 1967, and I was sitting in a class, and some guy was sitting next to me. I didn't even know him. We started talking about skiing. I said, "Hey, did you see that trip to Aspen for $125?" He goes, "Yeah, let's go." And you know, when you're 18 years old, you just do stuff like that. So we flew out to Denver. Little did we know that the flight only got us to Denver. we managed to hitch a ride to Aspen. We checked in at a little place at the base of 1A, and that night it snowed 10 inches. Woke up and it was one of those classic Aspen dreams.
Yeah.
And I had never skied powder. I'd skied back east, but never skied powder. And I struggled my way around for a while, but I fell in love with the place and began coming back through the 70s and 80s. And eventually we got a house and got married, had a kid, built a house, did the whole thing. So,
and John, it's really interesting because when you talk to locals around here, most people know you on the hill. Like you spent a lot of days getting your turns in out here.
I sure did. You know, it was an unusual time in my life in the late 80s where I had a lot of personal issues, professional, and I got divorced, and anyway, I don't want to go into the negative side. But what was positive about it was I had a little condo here in Aspen, and I got divorced, I moved into the condo, and I didn't have a car for 2 years. I rode my bike, I skied every day, I hiked, I did the backcountry thing, and it was the greatest thing that ever happened to me, and it changed my life. It honestly did. And it really set a course for the rest of my life. So I owe so much to my Aspen experience.
That's really fantastic. Rock and Roll Hall of Famer and ski bum, if you didn't know it. John Oates, ski bum in Aspen, Colorado. Let's talk a little bit about music. I really wanted to start with the beginning. Well, when did you start playing music? What got you into playing music?
Oh, man. I was a little kid, you know. For some reason, I sang as a little kid. My parents used to take me around. I made a recording at Coney Island Amusement Park in New York, where we lived before we moved to Pennsylvania. And I still have that recording. I sang "Here Comes Peter Cottontail" when I was 4 years old. So I began playing guitar at 6, and I've never looked back. And I don't know whether I should say this or not, but I've never really had a job. So, you know, I play guitar and sing for a living, and I don't really consider that a job, even though it is. And I'm a very blessed and lucky person, and I don't take it for granted.
Well, let's talk a little bit, just briefly, about that period in your life. You say you never had a job because you started playing music so young. What were those early days like, and meeting up with Daryl Hall and those early days for you, getting into the business, I guess, if you'd say?
Well, you know, I went to college grew up in a small town in Pennsylvania, went to college in Philadelphia, and that's where I met Daryl. He had a group, I had a group, completely independent of each other. We both had records out in 1968 on the local R&B station, and that's how we met. I eventually joined his group as a backup guitar player. That group fell apart. He and I gravitated toward each other, and we started writing songs, and little by little got a record deal in the early 70s, and as they say,
yeah, the rest is...
Well, I wasn't going to say that. I was going to say I worked my ass off. But yeah.
It wasn't that easy, I'm sure about it. And then the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I mean, that I can't even imagine that's a dream as you're growing up. But to be a rock and roll legend, what can you say to people that they might not know about what that experience is like?
Well, you know, it's interesting. Being in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, of course, is a huge career boost, and a lot of people look at that as a huge achievement, and it is. But we got inducted into the American Songwriters Hall of Fame a few years prior to that. And the way I look at it is, had we not written the songs we did, we wouldn't be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So in a way, I'm very proud of both things, but I'm really proud of being in the American Songwriters Hall of Fame.
That's interesting. I wasn't going to ask, but you just led me right to it. So was that the focus for you, is writing great songs?
It's the focus of everything. It's where everything starts, you know. There's so many amazing musicians. There's great singers, great instrumentalists all over the world. But unless they have a song to play or a song to sing, there's not much going on. So it really is the main thing. It's where I focus my creative attention.
Okay, and the next question then is, how do you write songs? What comes first? Lyrical thoughts, pictures in your head, the music? What happens?
Well, we're getting pretty deep up here on the top
Thanks,
of Aspen
man.
Mountain.
I'm no Dan Rather, like I was saying, but
no, you're doing good, man. No, you know what? It can come from anywhere. I like to say there's no rules to songwriting. You know, it can come from a snatch of a conversation that you may hear, a set of chords, a drum beat. You know, you might hear something on the radio, and then you can steal it from them. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, I'm not.
You're allowed to lift some of the time. I mean, music is a shared art.
Rock and roll is all about lifting. A lot of lifting. Heavy lifting, creative lifting, all sorts of lifting.
Let's talk about the show that's coming up at the Wheeler and Guthrie Trapp.
Yeah.
Tell us about him.
An amazing guy who I met actually in Telluride at the Telluride Bluegrass Festival about 15 years ago. He was playing with Jerry Douglas. I was playing with Sam Bush. We were on stage together at the big jam at the end of the night. And I heard him play, and I was blown away with his skill and his talent, and I just introduced myself, and we began a friendship. He's been playing with me in various configurations in Nashville over the years, in the Good Road Band, which is my Nashville band. And after Daryl and I finished this tour this year, we did 23 cities and managed to get through without too many COVID issues, which was lucky. I just wanted to break it down to the most basic thing we could do. And we sat in the living room, we played together with 2 acoustic guitars, and we said, man, this is cool, let's just do this. And let's take it out to the people, you know, and so that's what we're doing.
And this is a show that you're taking all around the country. What can people expect? Those that are coming to the show, stories behind the songs, what can they expect? What songs?
Well, you know, I'm fascinated with the history of American popular music. Me being, you know, I feel like I'm part of that legacy. And so I went back and I did a lot of kind of deep dive into where American popular music started. It started with the advent of radio and the phonograph. And there were hit records in the 1920s and that sold millions of copies that people aren't aware of. And I think maybe perhaps some people, especially a younger generation, might think that pop music started with rock and roll, but it didn't. And so I go back to the earliest days of American popular music, and we talk about that. And I kind of work my way up through the decades. And of course, you know, when I see people heading for the bathroom, I start playing some Hall & Oates hits. So you have to be very careful, you know.
There's going to be a little bit of everything in the show.
A little bit of everything. Yeah, you won't be disappointed. You'll hear some of the songs you expect to hear, and hopefully you'll hear a lot of songs you don't expect to hear.
Once again, the show is at the Wheeler Opera House, December 29th, 7:30 p.m. Tickets are still available, but they're going kind of fast, so you might want to get over there and get your tickets, or just go online to the Wheeler Opera House and get your tickets there. John, we want to welcome you back home.
Thanks, Torre.
Thanks for joining us on the show this morning, and we will see you at the Wheeler Opera House.
It's awesome. Thank you so much. See you guys.
One of Aspen's favorite locals, both on the slopes and off the slopes. This is John Oates, everybody. We'll be right back.